first question you gotta ask is this: is do you share common core values? First question that I want to deal with if you're going to create what I call a healthy and a sustainable relationship is, do you have common shared core values? Now, again, you hear this in leadership training, but the same is true as far as relationships. What are core values? These are your thoughts. These are your beliefs. These are your philosophies. Watch this, that dictate your behavior, dictate your communication, dictate your leadership style, actually dictate how you behave most of the time. Your core values dictate everything. And so if you ever want to predict or have an idea of who someone is, the question you want to ask them is, what are your core values? And they don't understand what that means. What matters most to you? What are your deal breakers? What do you believe in? What are you unwilling to compromise? These are your core values. So what you want to do is, when you're getting ready to engage in a relationship, when you're getting ready to form a business relationship, when you're getting ready to form a partnership, one of the questions you want to ask on the first date, to be honest with you, don't waste time. What are your values? That's not too deep. What do you believe in? And then once they tell you what they believe in, then you begin to watch, because you all know your actions are more powerful than your word. There's a lot of people that will tell you that I love you, but they don't really love you. How you know they don't love you? Because their actions aren't expressing what they say. I was just doing a marriage counseling this week with my wife, and we were counseling a couple, and this one was like, I love him. I said, well, let me break down love. Let me define what love is. And we begin to go through the definition, and she realized real quick, now you ain't really loving that man. You say you love him, but your actions are contrary. And a lot of times in relations, people will say one thing, but their actions are different. So you want to hear what they say, and then you want to sit back and say, well, let me see their behavior. Let me see, are they actually doing what they say? And once you identify the core value, you want to ask yourself the question, how can we come together and establish joint core values? The reason I use the word shared is because, number one, we're going to identify our values. But number two, we want to bring them together and have shared values. And can I say something? There may be some values you don't possess that they possess that you want to put on the table, because, again, if it matters to them, if I'm in a relationship, it should matter to me. This is what creates great relationships. And we see this all the time. If you watch television, if you watch the news, if you really get down to the core of why people get into conflict, get upset and walk away from people, you will find it comes down to the value system. At some level, some value is not aligned. But when we have values that are aligned, it changes the game. I mean, just think about it. Just think about the different groups. Just think about the different teams. Just think about the different organizations. What brings them together? It's either the expressed values or the unwritten values. The values that you know are there, that are not articulated, but you know they are there. And ultimately, if you're going to be an effective leader, but more importantly, if you're going to have a healthy relationship, not only do I got to know my values, but I got to know their values. And together, we should be creating what I call shared common values. Now, let me show you this quote real quick. This quote is so powerful. It's a quote by Gandhi. Watch what he says. He says, keep your thoughts positive because your thoughts become your words. Keep your words positive because your words become your behavior. Keep your behavior positive because your behavior becomes your habits. Keep your habits positive because your habits become your values. Real clear, y'all. Value. Ding, 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 ding. Watch this. Keep your values positive because your values become your destiny. In essence, the values that you embrace, the values that you agree to, are the very things that dictate your destiny. When people are in toxic relationships, when people are in toxic organizations, when people are in toxic communities, you made the choice that it's okay. You said, you know what? I don't value myself enough to step away from this toxic relationship. Have you ever saw people that are scared to walk away? They know it's not good. They know it's toxic, but they don't value themselves enough. They don't value who they are more than the relationship. they have put the relationship above their values. So they're dealing with toxics, they're dealing with unhealthy relationships, they're dealing with challenges because they don't value themselves. Can I just make an announcement? You are a king, you are a queen. You have power, you are valuable, you are important. You do not deserve to be in a relationship that is unhealthy. There is too much greatness in you. There is too much potential in you. There is too much just brilliance in you. There is too much beauty on you. You don't deserve to be in an unhealthy relationship. Listen, I know it's Valentine's. I know Valentine's is coming up, and I know it can be lonely sometimes when you're by yourself. But listen, what my good friend Frank Oliver once said, he said, I'd rather be by myself than settle for less, because when I settle for less, I'll feel like I'm by myself. I'm going to say it one more time. I'd rather be by myself than settle for less, because when I settle for less, I'll actually feel like I'm by myself. So many people settle for less for temporary, but ultimately end up feeling in the same isolated place, probably even worse, because they settled on their values. You can't settle on who you are. You can't settle on your value. Your parents made you into someone. Your culture, your heritage, you're too great. You're too awesome to get in relationship with someone that doesn't share the values. And one of those values is that you are awesome and you are destined for success. And there was actually a study that I share in my book, and you'll see the caption. It says, they say people divorce over money, but they don't. They divorce over values. And this is really powerful to me, because in my study, and I was studying marriages and I was studying relationships, and I found that one of the main reasons why people get divorced, one of the main, there's several others as well, but one of the main reasons is because of values. They don't share common values. I can fake the funk for about 2 to 3 to 4 years, but if I'm going long term, if I'm going sustainable, I got to make sure I have the right values, because your values dictate the success of the relationship. So now the question becomes, Dr. J, how do I build this? How do I implement this in my life? Well, number one, as I said earlier, identify your top 5 values for a relationship. What are your top 5 values? What are your top 5? I do an exercise when I do leadership training. I start with 20, and then I go to 10, and then I go to 5. So you want to start with 20, and then you want to go to 10 and go to 5. But what are your top 5 values? And then when you go on that date, you meet that person, they're looking good, or you go to that business, or you go to that job, and whatever the case may be, wherever the partnership relationship's at, when you go into that opportunity, then what you want to do is you want to seek out, what are your values? What do you believe in? And do my values believe in this? Because if my values don't believe in this, not only am I going to have an unhealthy relationship, watch this, but I can even have an unhealthy career. Because if I work for a company that is not in alignment with my values as a person, that can affect me as well. That can have a huge impact. If I'm working for a leader that doesn't value what I value, that is impactful as well. And so that's important, why we always want to know our values, understand the values of others, and then last but not least, how can we align these values together so we can make a greater impact? Because I still believe that 2 is better than 1. I still believe the notion, as Les Brown once said, he says, show me your friends, I'll show you your future. I believe that with all my heart, that the people you surround yourself with have a direct impact on your future. But if they're going to have an impact on your future, we got to understand what questions and what decisions need to be made to make sure that we have the right people in our lives. Question number 1, everyone, real simple. Do you and your partner share common values?